And it leads us next into collaborating and working in teams in the digital world. And how do we keep ourselves safe when we do there? So we were fortunate that we have a dynamic duo from the College of Business and the Speed School of Engineering here. One of them was a co-founder of the Digital Transformation Center, Dr. Andrew Wright. But first, we have with us today Dr. Lauf, who's an associate professor of computer science and associate professor in the computer science and engineering department at U of L's JB Speed School of Engineering. He's a core faculty member for LARI, for the Louisville Automotive Automation and Robotics Research Institute, as a part of the Autonomous Intelligent Mobile Systems. Boy, that one's a mouthful, isn't it? AIMS Lab. I love that we come up with acronyms. We're as bad as the military, Dr. Lauf. Dr. Lauf's research expertise in cooperative autonomous aerial robotics, which has the goal of enabling swarms of autonomous UAVs to accomplish objectives in a cooperative and collaborative manner. These robot swarms use multiple domain mesh networking, decentralized decision-making, and node clustering to improve communication efficiency. Dr. Lauf also has research interests in cyber and network security. He's here with us today in that capacity, with research efforts in embedded in LOT security, as well as several projects in cybersecurity workforce development. Dr. Wright, as I mentioned earlier, is a co-founder of the Digital Transformation Center. He's this is the brainchild of he and Dr. Adil Almagrabi and Dr. Sharon Carrick. So thank you, Dr. Wright, for helping to create this great place I work. Go Cards. He is an assistant professor and chair of Information Systems and Analytics and Operations Department in the College of Business here at U of L. He joined the faculty in '94 and has previously served as the university's Director of Academic Technology and was a founding member, here we go again, and Director of Learning Initiatives for U of L's Digital Transformation Center. He teaches courses in cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and software development, and has helped lead grants from the NSF, NSA, Department of Defense, Department of Labor, among others. We're so fortunate to have these two gentlemen with us here today, because anytime we're talking about technology, I think it's critical that we acknowledge that we all need to learn how to keep ourselves safe when we're in these technology spaces. So gentlemen, I will turn the floor over to you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thanks everyone for being here. Adrian, you want to run the slides, or? Adrian still with us?
He's here. I saw him earlier.
He was.
Did he leave? Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Sorry, I didn't have the phantom power turned on my microphone. My apologies. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be happy to turn on the slides. Sherry, thanks so much for the introduction. This whole discussion actually started from hey, what do people need to know about cybersecurity? And this is just going to be a very quick overview of best practices, and Andrew and I are going to tag team it. As Sherry mentioned, one of my foci is in cybersecurity. I'm our point of contact for the Speed School's graduate certificate in cybersecurity as part of our National Centers for Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense. And Andrew is an instrumental part in College of Business's side of that equation. So let me see if I can, let's see if this present in Teams button actually works. Nope, unsupported location. Fantastic. All right. Let's do a screen share. Let me just F5 this and get to Teams over here, and we'll share screen. Where is
technology is great when it works.
Yeah. There we go.
We've had dean candidates in this week, and every time we've gone into the classroom to do one of those remote presentations with people, the mic has died, something is not working. It's like, how many PhDs does it take to get a presentation to present?
even since 2020.
Right.
Can everybody see the screen?
Looking good.
Okay, very good. Let's see if I can advance slides. All right, so we're just going to tag team some best practices. I know that this area is, the subject matter is in collaboration, so that's kind of what the bent is here a little bit. But I'll start off by saying that best practices all come down to you. People often view technology as the bogeyman in all of this, or boogeyman, or whatever it is, as the evil in all of this. But you have to understand that it's really human v human, and setting yourself in an adversarial mindset is often a very critical part to understanding your cybersecurity posture, and therefore what you can do about it. And because of that, collaboration has some unique perspectives that we need to address, everything from how you manage your files and presentations to what you need to look out for on a daily basis. And these are human tools, right? And of course, they're applicable in other domains as well. But in any case, we're going to take a look at this in a. Is there anything you want to add to this? This is just the primer.
Yeah, no, I'll say human v human, now human v AI. That is happening more and more. We just had a case in the news here in Louisville about a teenager, unfortunately, who was a victim of a sextortion crime with an AI generated image, and the young man ended up committing suicide over something that wasn't even a real thing. He hadn't inappropriately shared content that was private, just AI generated. And more, I think we're seeing the release of these AI tools in now attack vectors that we're not accustomed to seeing, and it's changing things for everyone.
I'm going to show you some real examples of these.
Yeah,
we're going to show you some real examples of these. One that I found from someone else, and one actually that was sent to me. Of AI generated content that was designed to spearfish. So it's fascinating what's out there. Still a human being at the other end running the equipment.
Yep.
But now we have the entire corpus of human knowledge, or as much of it that can be scraped off the internet anyway, that is being used against us as well. All right. Understanding the threat landscape. So collaboration varies from group to group, person to person, but typically it involves sharing of information. This may be through email, GASP. It may be through files. It may be through Teams like we're using now. But in any case, protected content, in some cases, being moved from party to party. And one of the big issues with this is that when we're working, we're not thinking that much about security because we have familiarity with the content we're using, and familiarity breeds vulnerability. That means that we may be not suspicious enough about attacks that are designed to catch us off guard, especially when we know that we're expecting content, when we know that we're expecting information, or even when we're not. Our brains we're very trusting animals. Right, it's built into our DNA. We are herd animals, and so as a result, we trust to survive, and that can be great for general survival, and it can be a liability for cybersecurity. And so you'll find all sorts of attack surface areas. These are essentially conditions that you have or are that allow you to be susceptible to something. And that makes you vulnerable to, phishing, which we'll discuss here in a little bit, some malware that could take advantage of that, even the desire to exfiltrate data that you should have access to. And so when we're using collaboration tools, we have to be aware of what are we exposing ourselves to, and are all of our collaborative efforts from their original sources or not. Andrew, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I'll just I threw in a link into the chat. The university has invested in some phishing simulation tools now, so
Yes.
all of us should be receiving some of these phishing emails that are generated by the University of Louisville ITS team. We are being measured on how often we report those messages. So from within Outlook, you can go in and report this as junk or a phishing attempt. I did that recently and got kudos from the team, which includes a couple of students of mine from a while back. It's like, good job, Dr. Wright. You actually recognized a phishing email as such. But this is an area where I think we're all vulnerable to these attacks, particularly since they are getting better and better every day. No doubt about that. The the last part there, we were under the impression that this audience was primarily faculty and staff today. Sherry, is that fair assumption?
It is. We do have some community members from
Okay.
our Train the Trainer grant.
Very good.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you are working with collaborative teams across university boundaries or across organizational boundaries, that opens us up even more to vulnerability when we stay inside our network. Our firewalls are a little more protective of us, but when you're crossing that, as we often do with these collaborative teams, it's easy for that data to get lifted when we didn't intend for it. And having an awareness of our responsibilities with some of the data that we collect that has protected information in it, whether it's health information or FERPA restricted data. We had a case here in the College of Business just last week where a faculty member had taken their laptop home and unfortunately was using it for personal use. Put some air quotes around that. And the device got compromised, and unencrypted student records on the machine at that point becomes a potential FERPA violation. So we definitely need to be aware of the data that we have in our possession and how that might compromise us and create liability for us and our organizations.
Very good. Yeah. Excellent points. And, this is a discussion, by the way, that can go on for hours and hours and hours. We're just trying to give you the very, very basics, just some things to think about. And many of you will already know all of these things, but we're serving as a reminder for what we see out in the field. And that brings us to an excellent point, which is access control. So Andrew was mentioning, keeping domain over our data. And some of the easiest way to do that is through policy enforcement, and that is enacting access controls. So access controls are essentially privileges that are delegated and designated as to who has read, write, and access privileges, and including who has the ability to delegate further privileges. And typically when you're working with shared information, especially if that information is highly confidential, especially if it's students or HIPAA protected information, whatever it might be, you want to operate on the principle of least privilege. I guess in the military, that's need to know. And so the idea behind that is only give access to or control over things for people as much as they need. Don't automatically assume, okay, let's make everybody an administrator. Early days of Windows XP and Vista, by default, everybody, well, especially in XP, like 20 years ago, people by default had administrative privileges for everything, which is great if you're the only person using that computer and you know exactly what you're doing. But for the same reason, you wouldn't just give a stranger off the street the keys to your house. You need to figure out who needs to know and how to delegate that. Whether it's using Teams, in which case you can make someone the owner of a meeting, or give them access, to presenter mode, or the ability to moderate things, or whether it's a shared file and you give someone edit permissions. Those are things you have to keep track of before you start that collaborative effort, because when you forget, what you had assigned. It's better that you have erred on the side of caution and someone asks you for privilege escalation than you automatically assigned everything, and before you know it, someone has reshared that content to everybody else on the internet, and the cat's out of the bag. Some of that can come down to organizational roles, where, whether it's central IT or some other management agency has enforced policy that by default protects that. It's a little bit annoying because you have to make exceptions for it. But good policy counts. This also matters in things like version control repositories. If you're writing code, if you're working with people that are supposed to have edit privileges to some of that code, you'd rather figure out where that dynamic is first before someone either overwrites a repository, has shared it to the internet, those kinds of things.
Yes, Adrian made the mistake of giving me edit privileges over the presentation, and about 10 minutes before the presentation began, I accidentally deleted all of the slides. So, whoopsie. I blame Google for that. If I were using my Microsoft tools, it would have worked perfectly, but imported the slides and all the text disappeared off of every slide. I don't know why, but it happens. I'll throw in just a word here. If you're a manager of a lab, you have grad students that are coming in, using the tools to create groups so that you can assign privileges to a group and have the students added to a group or other team members added to a group makes it a lot easier to manage that, instead of having to do for this individual and this individual and this individual, constantly making those updates. The other thing I'll add, make sure you audit those groups from time to time to see if the people that are in them still should be in them. I left the provost's office in 2008, 2009, and I can't tell you for how long I still had access to a whole bunch of stuff that I should never have had access to once I left that role. So sometimes we do end up with privileges that persist far longer than our role would otherwise indicate. So set it up, but check it frequently as well.
Excellent point. All right, some best practices. This is something that most people know about. Most people are probably annoyed about.
But Duo, come on, every 5 seconds.
Yeah, this is quite literally one of the best tools you have to protect your information. And for those who don't know what multi-factor authentication is, it's one of 4 things. There's some people that say there's 6. It's variable, but
say there's 3.
It's something that's a password, typically. Something you have, which is typically your phone or smart device. Or it could be a device that produces like a temporary one-time password, these time-based codes that you have, and that can even be on your phone. Inherence, so this is something you are, typically biometric identifiers such as a fingerprint or iris scan if you're super fancy. I discourage things like face identification because there are easy ways to fool that, but in any case. And lastly, behavioral, which is something you are prone to doing, such as typing patterns, how you tend to move your mouse, or even certain factors in your speech. That one is not commonly used because that one, in many cases, is easily fooled, especially speech detection. But typically, we choose 2 out of the 3 in some sort of account security. To prevent someone from having one of those. If someone has your phone, but they don't know your password, they can't access your account. If they know your password because you've accidentally reused it or it has been stolen in a breach, they don't have your phone. It's very unlikely that someone has, 2 of the factors in this list. And if you don't have multi-factor authentication, it's required at U of L. But if you don't have it turned on pretty much everywhere else in your life in things that matter. And by the way, everybody say it with me. What is the most important account you possess that you should secure above anything else? It is, of course, that's right, your email account.
Right.
It's not your bank account.
No.
Because where do all the forgotten password recoveries go to? They go to your email. So, yes, sometimes you require another factor.
My personal email with that.
Sorry? Yeah.
My personal email. I mean, it's my.
And so the number one thing that should have a unique password and multi-factor authentication turned on is your email account. Everything else will dump recovery information to that. So that should be the most protected thing you have.
And sadly, lots of examples of people who have been targeted and they use the password recovery feature and calling a company crying about, oh my gosh, I lost my phone, so I can't use my second factor. And they say, okay, we'll send you a one-time email reset. But if your email has already been compromised, you're toast at that point. It's a pernicious type of attack. So having that two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication on your primary email accounts for recovery is essential.
Yep, absolutely. All right. How about those friggin' passwords?
Yeah.
So I have some thoughts on this. And for those of you who know the comic on the right from XKCD, it goes to show that we actually have very bad policy for passwords. And the tagline at the bottom is, through 20 years of effort, we've successfully trained everyone to use passwords that are hard for humans to remember, but easy for computers to guess. And that is 100% true. Just look at U of L's password policy. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but you know who you are, that every 6 months you just change one digit in your password or add one extra letter or do one extra thing at the end. All of us know who we are that do that, okay? And that is because we have self-control depletion. And we get tired of password changes, and so we take the easy way out. So one of my favorites is, well, first, there's some ground rules. No password reuse for important things. There should never be reuse. If you don't have reuse, nobody else can log into other things. But my favorites are passphrases. In the comic, you'll see there, correct horse battery staple. And if I had given you some sort of complex randomized password, you would have forgotten it the instant you looked at it. But I think everybody can remember correct horse battery staple. Why? It's weird. It has a weird image in your head, and you'll remember it tomorrow with just one reading. So I like passphrases because they're resistant to single word dictionary attacks. If you look at the permutations and combinations of words that you'd have to run through dictionary attacks, it becomes incredibly large. And so it makes it very difficult to steal a password and very easy for you to remember. Password managers, which generate random passwords, are also great. The problem is, have you secured your password manager? Those are great only if you have a second factor turned on. And of course, make sure you have easy and reliable access to your second factor if that's the case. In fact, National Institutes for Standards and Technology last year came out with a recommendation that does not recommend periodic password changes. It doesn't recommend any password changes. Because yes, have to use multi-factor authentication with your password manager. Absolutely correct. So NIST says don't do password changes because it promotes poor behavior. Only change passwords, and with a big caveat that you are using a truly unique password with that service. Only change the password if you know it's been compromised. Otherwise, leave it alone. It's not making anything more secure. And passwords should always be used with a second factor for anything that's sensitive. I do have an exception to this rule. Where can you use crappy reused passwords? Anytime you have some sort of a forum online for information that you don't care about, like maybe a car fan forum that you make a few postings every once in a while about, some error message that you got on your car or how to, change some sort of a fluid or whatever, that doesn't really matter. And those, it's okay to use crappy passwords that are reused because you're not risking anything. And because, and this is the caveat, it will encourage you to use really strong passwords on things that do matter. That's the only exception I allow, personally. But always use your second factors and avoid SMS, by the way, as a second factor because you can be a target of a SIM swap attack. But a good password is a good start.
Yeah, it's rare. I'll throw in another benefit of the password managers, the one that I use, for example. It'll actually run a security report with the database of passwords that it has. It'll show you reused passwords, weak passwords, give you security scores, and allow you to prioritize which ones you want to make updates to strengthen and avoid reuse.
Absolutely. Yep. Google Chrome will do that. Among others. I'm gonna go a little faster on this, Andrew, if that's all right, just because we're
Yeah,
eating
we're
up
long.
time like nobody's business. Endpoint security, make sure your smartphones and computers are secured, have antivirus updated. That's really all I'm going to say about that. And these slides will, of course, be made available. So if you use things like disk encryption, so if your computer is stolen, the information is not available to others. And that's by default on pretty much every new laptop of any operating system, and smartphones are all pretty much encrypted. Any quick thing to add to that one?
No.
Okay. Anticipating threats, AI and phishing. So an email on the right, this is an AI generated phishing email. You'll notice perfect grammar. You'll notice great attention to detail. And this is done because artificial intelligence is now very good at producing perfect results on things like emails that are designed to phish information for you. The best thing that I can suggest is check for headers. So typically in your email tool, you can expand the email headers and identify, hey, what site is this actually coming from? Now, that's not always foolproof. I'll show you next an email that I keep getting, and the provider has had their private key to their digital certificate stolen. So this particular phishing email looks to have come from a secured service. That's because a private key has been stolen, and so that service is now I can't rely on the headers anymore. Do not use text messages for multi-factor authentication. That's just because you might at some point be the victim of a SIM swap attack, which basically someone calls up your service provider and says, "Hey, I'm porting over this number." They get your cell phone number ported over, and then they'll try to log in. They'll get the PIN request instead of you. It's unusual, but it can happen. If you have any doubts whatsoever, never follow this link that you see in the emails. Go directly to the service in your browser by typing in the URL or Googling it, although you should type it, and then log in from there and see, is there really a request? So let me show you an example. This is what I just got this a few days ago. Now I have the images and links disabled for good reason, but this was an email I got from a provider of mine. And this, I get these now, about 2 or 3 of these a month now, saying that my payment details have expired on a service. They know exactly my domain name. So how on earth are you supposed to know that this is incorrect? And if you follow the link, by the way, which I did, and I messed with them a little bit, it will take you to a fake to a fake login for this service. You, of course, have to look at what your web browser is telling you where you're going, and it is not Turbify. And that's a very good way to check, am I really going there? Hover over that link. But this is real, and these are perfectly rendered. They look exactly like the messages that I get from that service. And like I said, I believe that their private key has been stolen because all of the header information checks out. So what do you do when you get one of these? Well, I went straight to the service, not through the link, and I logged in and I checked my billing details. And of course, there's nothing wrong with the credit card. There is no balance owed. None of that is the case. But this is real. This happens absolutely every day. And I'm sure many of you have seen this. Things like this, but now the grammatical errors are gone. All the things that used to tip you off, those are gone because people are using generative AI to make them perfect. Any thoughts to add there, Andrew?
I'll throw in just as an aside. When I'm setting up accounts now for bill pay and whatnot, I often use virtual credit card numbers. So one of the credit cards that I use supports the creation of individual credit card numbers that are tied specifically to a site. So even if that credit card number were to be lifted, it could only be used on that site. Couldn't be used anywhere else, and I can turn them on and off as need. I can set them to automatically turn off by date. I feel
Google Wallet
somewhat safer about that.
Yep, it's built right into the browser, and you can generate credit card numbers and delete them, and it does not modify your actual card number at all. And the nice thing is you can make them per transaction, which means literally every transaction gets a new credit card number.
One-time transactions.
And those card numbers are tokenized so that once that transaction is sent, it can never be used again. Okay. Secure communication tools. So first of all, check with your employer. If their employer suggests using Teams, use what the employer suggests, just because they probably have some sort of a policy and security best practices that they are paying for and are suggesting that you use. And that's why, when campus IT goes around and says, hey, make sure that you're using, full disk encryption and Microsoft Teams for your messages and stuff like that, there's a reason for that. However, if that is not enough, and I can tell you many instances why that would not be enough, you may want to use something that's got a little bit of a higher grade encryption. If you've ever heard of Signal, I've been using it for many years. It uses something called double ratchet encryption, which is phenomenally cool stuff. It provides both forward and reverse secrecy by using this really cool non-reversible way of generating security keys that changes for literally every message. And it has some caveats with it, but there are some hyper secure protocols out there where all this encryption keys are managed between you and the other party, and there's nobody else in the middle. Okay. Just based on how the algorithm works. Another thing that I'll put out there, and I'll just make this quick, is don't assume that just because you have the little SSL icon in your browser, that does not mean that your transaction is secure, because once it's on the other server or the other service, you have no idea what the security policies are there and whether that service is compromised. So that's just something to keep in mind. So stay abreast of news in the security space. I guess nearing the end here, backup and recovery, 3-2-1 backup method, 3 copies of your data, 2 places with 1 offsite copy. I cannot stress how important this is. All of you have probably heard of ransomware attacks as well. I have watched them unfold in real time right in front of me for people. That's where version history, at least 30 days, if not longer, makes a lot of sense. So that if something gets corrupted, you can go back in time and basically undo that. But the 3-2-1 method is industry standard for a reason. And I know so many heartbreak stories of people that do not do this and have lost all their stuff.
Including researchers on our campus that didn't have good backups. Now that we have access to the Microsoft services directly from our logins for most of us at U of L, OneDrive, good place to put it there. You get version history with the things that you're editing from that as well. It's there. Can also be recovered institutionally if you're using that instead of your personal one. And I'll throw in one because I know we're running long here, Sherry. Test your backups. I again have had the situation where making backups and then never bothered to test a restore and found out, oh, it really didn't work quite as well as I thought. The time to find that out is not when you need the recovery.
Absolutely. I actually personally like Backblaze for personal use. They're very good. There's like $70-80 a year for unlimited storage. And they'll even send you a hard disk if it's too slow to get everything off of the network connection. I personally have about 8 or 10 terabytes backed up there, and it works extremely well. All right.
Adrian?
I'm sorry?
Backblaze.
Backblaze.
Thank you.
Yeah, they've been around for quite a while. They have an excellent service, to be honest. Security begins with you. Humans are the weakest link in the information security space. Sherry, Backblaze. Yeah, that's correct. It's all one word. And they have both personal and B2B offerings as well. Computers are often viewed as the villains in cybersecurity. They're not. They're just tools. It's always a human being at the other end. Whether it's AI or not, some human is co-opting that. Appropriate levels of suspicion are necessary. Don't be paranoid. Just, verify. I wouldn't say trust but verify. Just verify but verify. Think like an adversary when approaching communications. How could somebody else have co-opted something? So let me just check, especially when you get emails that you're not expecting or not quite sure about. avoid self-control depletion. This is when we just click through messages that tell us to do stuff just because we want to get through them. It's a common attack vector if someone can basically make you tired of all the security prompts that you get. And that's something that security researchers are actively working to avoid. So it's gotten a lot better. And involve your collaborative community in your security posture. Ask questions, talk to people, make sure that you are all fostering that cybersecurity culture together. Anything you want to add to that?
No, we're long, so
Yep. I guess we'll go to Q&A.
Questions, and no one has questions. So if you want to click the next slide just to pitch for a second. We both have programs for you, your students. If you have people that are interested in taking a deeper dive in cybersecurity in a formal way, we have an undergraduate track in cybersecurity. And both of these programs are designated as Centers of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense by the National Centers of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity, which is quite a mouthful. Basically, the National Security Agency makes sure that we're teaching relevant stuff and keep us on our toes. The Speed School has a grad certificate in cybersecurity. We have an undergrad degree as a track in computer information systems. But if you have students that are interested in cyber, it's an exciting career. We're serious about, training that next generation of cyber defenders. It is an issue of national security as well. So we take it seriously. Thanks so much.
Well said, Andrew. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, I guess we're long, so we probably shouldn't take any questions. And I got to go teach.
As you all are thinking, if you could just stick for just a second, as folks are thinking about questions, I want to add a follow-up to this as if you are a victim of that cybersecurity, an attack, please understand that you are not alone. Hiding it only makes it worse. Immediately, I'll tell one on myself. I got one from, they had taken over a company's website address, and I clicked on it and thought I was getting a full report. And I immediately recognized that I had been phished, and I fell for it. So I got off, I shut my computer down, and I called IT at U of L and said, I have screwed up. Please do not be afraid to do that. You only make it worse when you try to hide that.
Even us security professionals, cybersecurity experts, whatever you want to call us. I mean, nobody is really an expert, but those of us in the space, even we can. I came really close when that Turbofy message that I showed you. The first time I saw that about 3 months ago, I did all my due diligence. I'm not going to lie, but when the certificate checked out, I was really questioning it. And so I still didn't fall for it, but I could have easily.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that. I guess I'm a man of a certain age now, and so I get romance scam on social media frequently now. And I've got an extra hour. Why not? I'm going to chat with someone who may be an AI agent on the other side, but I personally enjoy going through and figuring out what new strategies they're using and finding the inconsistencies in their stories, and then wasting a bit of their time as well.
And I'll leave you with one thing to do a little bit of research on. Do a little bit of Google searching on what a pig butchering scheme is. They're very common right now, where someone essentially will befriend you through a wrong phone number or whatever. They'll get you to invest in some sort of crypto scheme that they have, make you think you're getting big returns, then tell you have to pay all these taxes to get your money back. People are putting entire life savings to this, and then they get shut off. The money is gone. So check those out. They are affecting a lot of people right now. So I guess that's all I've got.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thanks for making it interactive.
It's good to talk to all of you.
If anybody has any questions, you can send them to me, and I can go. I can filter them through, or I dropped their names in and email addresses for both Adrian and Andrew in the chat.
All righty. Thank you all.
We'll share the presentation back, Sherry, for you all to be able to share with the group.
Okay.
Y'all take care.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.